Hi class, this case study deals with cultural change at eBay. It is by Loredana Cahill, Frank Todaro, and Kara Winter. eBay, the company, began in September of 1995 when it fulfilled its first online transaction of connecting a seller with a buyer who wanted to buy a product. After this, the company continued to grow until about the mid-2000s, and the company began experiencing major financial losses where they lost nearly $30 billion as well as their stock decreased 50% in value. Former CEO Meg Whitman chose to appoint a new CEO, John Donahoe, to take over. Donahoe began restructuring and refocusing the company on its core commerce and payments business at eBay and at PayPal. In January 2014, Donahoe appointed John Maeda to be the chair of eBay's Design Advisory Board to begin a culture of design. With all that being done, design thinking and the design playbook was beginning to be implemented at eBay. The major problem at eBay is a lack of effective leadership, and this problem led to other symptoms in the organization. Some of the symptoms that were occurring at eBay because of the lack of effective leadership was that eBay was experiencing major financial losses. The leaders were making poor business decisions. They were having challenges of growing and global expansion. Also, their competitors had already began implementing a culture of design thinking, which put eBay behind because they hadn't implemented this yet. Furthermore, eBay experienced a culture lag due to the organizational leadership prioritizing exploitative innovation instead of exploratory innovation. Additionally, there was a lack of necessary resources to enrich customer experiences, which meant that the customers was not connected with the seller and it was leading to a bad customer experiencing. Furthermore, there was poor communication, feedback, and employee engagement, which led to the employees not being happy at the organization. And lastly, the leadership did not cultivate the full potential of its product development process.
Hi, this is Lori Cahill, and let us continue with the solutions. With the addition of Danaher at eBay, gradual evolution took place and new cultural values became the standard. Everyone in the company was taught to understand and respect the value of the new design. Cultural change does take time, and traditional attitudes to management do not die overnight. Above all, Danaher embraced the design thinking as a key ingredient of the culture change as an accelerator for growth. The creation of a global design community across of all eBay companies through the stories told the design playbook and the eBay blog helped employees come together over their common passion for making people's life better through the products they were building. Design would facilitate a vast cultural change. These are the solutions one advantages. According to Neck et al., companies where people enjoy working and have opportunities for growth and creativity and attract the top candidates. In addition, success is measured by the company's growth and the production of unique cutting-edge and innovative products and services. Designing of the playbook turned out to be a unique exercise in getting all the eBay's business together to talk about the challenges they faced, utilizing storyboarding narratives and extracting insights of how design could help eBay excel and grow. Rallying around a cultural initiative such as Culture of Design could serve to inspire and unify the workforce as well as the stakeholders. Some of the disadvantages include Neck et al. Stated that organizational culture could be difficult to change, whereas several other management functions such as shaping organizational culture require changing ingrained organizational mindsets. In short, changing organizational culture may result in an emotional process rather than a rational or analytical process. Consequently, dealing with emotions in the workplace can be very complex. There is a great risk of fully committing to significant cultural changes. For instance, any changes made can initially alienate concurrent customers who may not be appreciative or adjust accordingly to the new ways. Investment in plannings for this change could include high costs for training, technology, and additional personnel, and should be highly considered. Specifically, it might be difficult to quantify any results. In other words, designing is rather qualitative, whereas sales goals are more easily quantitatively identifiable. Management and investors might demand rapid results by focusing and depending on the established criteria to gauge the results. Our second proposal solution involves improving recruitment. CEO Megan Whitman selected John Donahoe to take over in April 2008. Donahoe surprised the investors that were doubting him by moving quickly to restructure and refocus the company. Donahoe recruited externally and appointed John Mehta for the Rhode Island School of Design to be the chair of the eBay Design Advisory Board in January 14. However, to foster organizational growth, Donahoe decided to rely on an existing workforce to implement his vision. Recruiting and hiring external employees did foster more engagement across the eBay design community and produce rapid cultural transformation, namely by improving products and customer experiences, as well as significantly improving eBay's reputation as a desirable organization for design of talented individuals. We propose a greater reliance upon an external recruiting strategy to accomplish cultural change, including a more recruitment of top talent and use of the outside consultants. These are some unique advantages for this approach: acquiring well-known and highly regarded individuals from companies who have demonstrated success, recruiting specific external employees to address organizational needs will signal stakeholders of a committed and proactive approach to implement organizational cultural change. External will bring a fresh perspective to organizational programs, whereas existing employees may not be able to view the organization in the same fashion. Recruitment of external candidates provide management to select from a larger pool of candidates. Some of the disadvantages of solution 2 are recruiting experienced and specific individuals can be very expensive. For example, higher salary demands could require training and time to reach full productivity. New hires may be more difficult to train as a result of established and ingrained habits. More importantly, retention of external recruitment can be risky. New highly skilled recruits may determine after joining that the organization was not a good fit for them. Such rapid turnover would provide to be costly, time-consuming, and decrease organizational morale. External hires may not quickly adjust well to the company's methods and protocols, and furthermore, external recruits may be resistant to change and perhaps create tension with existing employees. There are also costs for recruitment and selection, and even after the process is completed, there is a risk that the wrong selection might have been made. Internal recruits are known entities for the company, so there is less risk in choosing them to take new roles. Additionally, bringing in outside individuals to implement change might offend existing employees and could decrease motivation. Garner the perception the company does not recruit and promote from within can be corrosive. Our third proposed solution involved changing leadership. We would replace and reconfigure organizational leadership. Leaders are the one who can make or break organizational culture changes. Leadership builds the foundation for company culture. This was demonstrated by eBay's success largely to the hiring Donahoe. New leadership also sets the mission and empowers employees, so there are benefits beyond the cultural change. Solution 3 advantages are replacing and reconfiguring organizational leadership can be positive and profound effects to the organization. Leadership can redirect, implement new organizational strategies and goals, engage, increase employees' motivation, claim the decision maker's ultimate goal was to enhance decision by identifying the linkage between employment practices and the ability to achieve the strategic objectives of an organization. More importantly, an advantage of strong and effective leadership can boost employees' morale. Certain leadership styles are best for utilizing employees' ideas, problem solving, and facilitating the decision-making process. The benefits of leadership include the ability to execute difficult, risky decisions. During the periods of organizational turmoil or uncertainty, leadership can influence the change of organizational culture, in particular the market culture, to increase competitiveness. The disadvantages are newly selected leadership who rapidly change the status quo might encounter resistance to change. Drastically changing organizational goals and implementing innovative strategies can be risky, particularly when organization needs rapid results. It can decrease trust in newly selected leaders and decrease employees' morale. According to Nack et al., newly selected leadership strategies will not produce rapid results, can negatively impact leaders-members relations. A significant disadvantage in selecting new leadership can occur if the individual does not possess specific traits. Furthermore, the type of leadership style exhibited should complement the organizational and employees' needs. Above all, if the new leadership process is not accepted or met with resistance, leadership can affect work motivation by having an impact on organizational states, as well as have both direct and indirect impact on goal generation and goal striving process. Lastly, new leadership can significantly alter and transform organizational practices. Organizational practices provide signals to employees regarding organizational culture and climate. Those signals were more important to employees when they perceived consistent leadership.
The fourth solution to eBay's problem is that they can embrace and implement innovation, which can hopefully increase employees' motivation. For example, by cultivating an environment that's open to creativity, it'll help employees feel more satisfied and motivated in their jobs. Additionally, this will provide employees with autonomy. They can feel like they have the power to create, and their ideas will actually be listened to and even maybe created. And lastly, this can help eBay continue innovating new products and ideas. With any solution, there's advantages and disadvantages. Some advantages of implementing innovation is that organizations will hopefully cultivate an environment that's open to creativity, and they'll then use their resources to help their company become and compete more effectively and efficiently with their competitors. Additionally, in this type of innovation, creativity can hopefully flourish, and employees will be given the autonomy and resources they need to implement their concepts, and they'll also be given the license to take risks. Another advantage is that product innovation can help to create new goods which can better meet customers' needs. And lastly, design thinking is linked to creating an improved future which can and seek to build ideas up. Some disadvantages of implementing innovation is that eBay's new leadership needs the employees to buy in and needs to have their commitment. Otherwise, innovation will probably not succeed. Additionally, exploratory innovation is considered risky because it relies only on customers' insights and feedback to gather information. And if you don't get that, then you don't have the information you need. Another disadvantage is that design thinking can be unsuccessful if solutions for the needs of people and customers are not correctly identified or understood. If you don't choose the right one or don't understand the needs of the people, then design thinking may be unsuccessful. Additionally, there needs to be a balance between the structure because leadership must initially incorporate structure as a training method, but by implementing design thinking as an organizational approach, it can it can be a culture change that leads to an excessively and unorganized structure, which can be a major disadvantage. And lastly, design thinking can be unsuccessful without effective leadership and communication. So if the organization does not have effective leadership or effective communication, then design thinking may be unsuccessful.
Hello, everyone. This is Frank Tadaro, and welcome to The Decision. Yes, big decisions need to be made at eBay. And with that, our group chose to change the leadership at eBay, namely the CEO and subsequently the other executive leaders. And also after that, leadership throughout the organization as a whole would change. Now, in hindsight, of reading the case study, many of you might argue that changing the organizational culture would have been the right or correct solution in changing eBay's, or addressing rather, eBay's symptoms and problems. But however, according to the Stanford 2016 case study that presented the eBay case study, it stated that the cultural change would also require leadership to reassess eBay's core values and refresh its approach to product development and employee engagement. So therefore, based on that statement, the organizational culture change would require leadership, and in particular, effective leadership. And also that individual needed to possess the correct leadership styles and the know-how on how to implement those leadership styles in the appropriate situations. Surely, when Meg Whitman selected John Donahoe as eBay's new CEO in April 2008, it is remarkable in hindsight when you look at all his decisions. Every decision, his every goal, every strategy was a home run. The results are undeniable. Based on his leadership styles, he turned everything around for eBay, and in a short period of time, in hindsight, he was the perfect individual at the perfect time in the perfect situation. It's truly remarkable. And as noted, eBay experienced rapid growth, expansion globally. They Once they implemented design thinking, innovation, they became the global leader in innovation, and also they reclaimed their position as a global technology company. And most of all, they became very financially successful. They turned around their financial decline. The changing leadership addressed all the underlying problems at eBay, namely organizational culture. The organization at eBay had become stagnant. Everyone in Silicon Valley had begun to surpass them by leaps and bounds due to their lack of product innovation. They experienced organizational culture lag. And as mentioned, they experienced heavy, significant financial losses. Here we see how important leadership is and how it influences everything in the organization. Leadership, power in politics, communication, it influences organizational outcomes, it influences individual and team processes, and overall it influences organizational processes such as culture, strategy, change and development, structure, and technology. Now, while it is important to highlight all of Donahoe's accomplishments and his successful run as eBay CEO, it's also important to understand why he was so successful. Why was he such a perfect individual? Why did he have such incredible results? Well, as we've learned, an effective leader needs to possess the necessary emotional intelligence and leadership styles. As you can see here from the Harvard Business Review, it shows all the necessary leadership styles and their positive correlations on the overall impact on climate, on organizational climate, that is. As you can see, the authoritative leadership style has the highest positive correlation on overall impact on climate change. And as you can see, those are the 6 factors of climate change: are flexibility, responsibility, standards, rewards, and clarity, and commitment. And second is affiliative leadership style. And then there's democratic and pace setting. Donahoe possessed 4 of the 6 positive leadership styles that are necessary to be an effective leader. He had incredible emotional intelligence, so much so he recognized that he alone could not change eBay's fortunes. He recruited and hired other executive leaders. He was mentored by Brian Chesky, former Airnib CEO, to advise him and mentor him on design thinking and implementing design thinking. Also, Dane Howard and John Mather were very instrumental and influential in eBay's turnaround. As you can see, the positive leadership styles of affiliative, democratic, and coaching, it basically describes everything that was needed for Donahoe to address eBay's underlying problems and to correct them. If you look at affiliative, creates harmony and builds emotional bonds, which he did. He unified eBay's global leadership of 1,800 leaders and employees. People come first. This would be the central foundation of eBay's innovation and design thinking. Empathy for the customer, building relationships, communication. These all you check the boxes on all of these. To heal rifts in a team or to motivate people during stressful circumstances. Surely eBay had stressful circumstances. Everyone at eBay became motivated. And you see democratic leadership style. How important was it for John Donahoe to implement all the strategies and be successful? He had to get everyone to buy in. Without the organizational leaders and employees buying in, none of his successful strategies and goals would have ever come to fruition. At least we cannot assume so. And as we see, a quote by John Maeda, who was the chairperson of eBay Design Advisory Board: "I've never seen so much change happen so fast. From inception to massive momentum in just 6 months. Amazing." Yes, it was amazing. It was incredible. Changing the company culture, getting everyone to buy in, and the end result, global expansion across 3 continents, numerous countries. It was an amazing turnaround. So next we have the action plan. What are the steps in changing eBay's leadership? In April 2008, Meg Whitman is replaced by John Donahoe as eBay's new CEO. Now, at the time, this was a risky decision, and it is a risky decision to implement this as the solution. But as Casio et al. 2015 explained, human resource specialists face special challenges associated with the choice of predictors, criterion measurements, and many practical difficulties. So therefore, in selecting the correct leader, manager selection is often a difficult process. And of course, in hindsight, this was the right choice. Next, of utmost importance, Donahoe must diagnose the organization. He must address and identify the underlying problems and prioritize them. And he did. He began with selling off PayPal. All of these decisions initially can be seen risky and met with resistance by the organization. Moreover, if they do not produce quick, rapid, and significant positive results. Donahoe then had the foresight, due to his emotional intelligence and appropriate leadership styles. He sought out other executives. He sought out Chesky, Dane Howard, John Maeda, and they in turn were all influential in overseeing the next phase of Donahoe's strategy, which was to embrace and implement design thinking to improve the innovation of eBay's product design process. Welcome to the new eBay. Donahoe's strategies changed the organization rapidly. The company experienced growth and improved financial success between 2008 and 2012, and then came the next phase of Donahoe's strategy, which would be to implement design thinking. And we'll explain the design thinking in the next few minutes. But it should be noted that when implementing leadership as a solution, we could argue that the taking on high salaries to hire these external executives could be considered a problem. But however, as I just mentioned, between 2008 and 2012, eBay already had begun to turn around their fortunes. No pun intended. So hiring these executives, these external executives, is not a problem. And here we could see, quote, "Inside a large company, the design of organization itself is itself a major design challenge." Now, what that means is design thinking itself is a process that is a prototype itself. It's a continuous process that reinvents itself and reconfigures itself and recorrects itself. It's all based on understanding, and what the term that was used over and over is empathy. Empathy for the customer, for the user. by identifying what the customer needs, how to enrich the customer's experience. And this approach, it's a solution based approach to solving problems. It's a way of thinking and working as well as a collection of hands-on methods. Design thinking revolves around the deep interest in developing an understanding of the people for whom we're designing the products or services. It brought the design leaders together. Everyone has a say, and as I observed, John Donahoe, by implementing design thinking, by hiring external leaders, and the effects of design thinking, which brings the design leaders closer to the leadership. They become leaders themselves. Therefore, the leadership affects the organizational culture, and simultaneously the organizational culture affects leadership. And this it's so successful, and it's evidently so popular in business because it involves everyone. If based on everything we've learned, how important it is for the organization to be unified, for motivation to be increased, and the end result in a business company like eBay is to enrich the customer experience. If you have happy customers who love to use your product, you're going to make a lot of money, and eBay has made a lot of money. And here we see a little simple chart of Stanford's design thinking model, just to illustrate. It begins with empathy, to empathize. You have to have an understanding of what's going on in the world around you, in the marketplace. What do people need? You yourselves, we are all customers. When you sign into an app, how frustrated do you get if it's hard to figure out, or if it's hard to get what you need? And then it's to define this. You define it, and that's to ideate, and then you create prototypes. That's a big thing in design thinking, creating prototypes. And design thinking itself is a prototype itself. And then they test the products. And this brought all the design leaders at eBay together to have a voice, to input, which increases motivation. And you can see here, SAP identified 4 critical success factors when implementing design thinking. Leadership. This is the whole basis of our proposal. Link design thinking initiatives to your strategic goals, provides direction, resources, and commitment. The people, which is so important, as we'll see in the next slide. It enables the design leaders to lead the change through successful lighthouse projects. It builds up an internal design thinking community. eBay in 2015 and 16 built schools for their employees, just like Google has. Universities. Design thinking as a framework evolved the method and tools so they support your company's objectives. And also, John Donahoe acquired additional resources, acquisitions. He acquired so many companies to help the customer make transactions and make it easy for them. And the environment. This is critical of eBay's underlying problems. The environment. Develop create collaborative workspaces for your workforce. eBay created on the John Donahoe workspaces. They built so many buildings for design leaders to work on their projects. Used to co-innovate with your customers and partners. This is also critical in understanding design thinking. eBay used blogs and stories and feedback from customers as to influence their decisions. It's truly remarkable. And yes, as you can see, yes, it is about the people. We hear this so many times today in media, and how organizations like to brag about it's all about the people. But is it truly always about the people? Do they really always make it about the people, or is it just a cheap marketing slogan? But when you read the eBay case study, and you see the results. In the end, it was all about the people. It's about embracing the customer and using customer stories and feedback about the product to improve the product and renew the product, continuously reinventing the product. And I wrote on the written paper that in essence John Donahoe institutionalized leadership at eBay. Everybody involved in eBay, from the CEO to the customer, in one way or another, was an influential leader in the decision making processes. And very quickly, as we wrap up, here's a slide which is a collage of examples of customer feedback, customer stories that eBay's blog so famously used, success stories of people who used eBay to conduct their business. It's an incredible web of success and integration, and all the leaders, the executive leaders, the design leaders, the lower level leaders, all across the globe have an influence. And this is why, in hindsight, our decision to choose leadership to tackle the root problem, we identified leadership as the root problem, to tackle all of eBay's underlying problems. And in hindsight, it's an arguable the results. Everything was hinged on changing the leadership, the CEO. He was the right person at the right time, the perfect individual in the perfect situation at the perfect time. And lastly, here's the results. Here are the end results. It's all about business. It's all about the bottom line. eBay in 2008 suffered heavy, significant losses. Their stocks declined by 50%. They lost $30 billion. Just look at the chart from 2007, 2008. John Donahoe takes over as CEO. And within 2 years, you could see the growth, the exponential growth. In 2014, when they embrace and implement design thinking, they spike. And then you have continued growth in merchandise volume from 2007 to 2018. It's extraordinary. And here on the right, this is a graph about other different major corporations who embrace design thinking, and it's just design thinking. It improves results. It's truly a remarkable process. Well, that's going to wrap it up. I hope everyone enjoyed our presentation, and thank you so very much. Goodbye.